Please be seated, thank you.
Ouch.
All right. Let's go back on the record.
We're on the record.
All right, is there anything we need to discuss us at the present, ma'am?
Just quickly, Your Honor, we filed a bench brief on 3/4/2025. I have another copy here.
You may approach.
You're good. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Oh, can you, Mr. Marshall, can you get the phone?
Oh, yes, sir.
Would you like me to wait, Your Honor?
Pardon?
Would you like to wait?
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Ma'am,
So, Your Honor, as we mentioned, we filed the bench brief last week regarding this issue. It's our understanding that defendants will seek to cross-examine plaintiffs Gossius or Strong on their proof of purchase. However, this is irrelevant and prejudicial and not probative in many different capacities. As this court is aware and has been continually referencing over and over and over again, liability and causation has been determined in this matter, along with injuries of Ms. Gossius and Ms. Strong. Because there's no contrary evidence presented, the genuine issue of, that demonstrated a genuine issue of material fact for trial, this court determined that all the plaintiffs drank defective real water, that the defective real water was the cause of their injuries, including Ms. Gossius's gastrointestinal issues, as well as Ms. Strong's liver injuries. What defense seeks to do is bring in collateral evidence of proof of purchase, receipts, or their fact sheets, which is prohibited under the collateral fact rule. This is akin to the Rembert versus State case that we cited in our brief, where the Nevada Supreme Court determined that extrinsic evidence that defendant was fired from a job when he testified he left it was collateral and inadmissible when it went to defendant's credibility rather than whether defendant committed a crime. Here, proof of purchase is entirely collateral. There's nothing related. It would only go to credibility, but it brings an entire issue that has already been established before this court. So it's violative and should be barred under the collateral fact rule. It's also analyzing it under NRS 48.035, warrants exclusion, as provided in Chowdhury versus NLBH. It says where evidence is marginally relevant and could interject collateral issues, which would divert the jury from the real issues in this case, exclusion is proper. And that's what we have here, Your Honor. You already determined liability and causation. Proof of purchase is entirely collateral and not relevant in any way, shape, or form. So plaintiffs would respectfully request that the court preclude argument or extrinsic evidence as to plaintiff's proof of purchase, including any fact sheets or credit card or transaction histories related to the same.
thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
In August of 2022, Plaintiff Strong and Gossius filled out their plaintiff fact sheets in this case. Both of them signed these documents under penalty of perjury, and they both attested that they purchased real water from Walgreens, not just a general Walgreens. They gave an address, a specific place, 3397 Las Vegas Boulevard. They gave a date of purchase, 10/20/2020. They even provided information on the method of payment. Then, in discovery, Walgreens disclosed records showing that the store in question never sold real water. And they produced information regarding the transaction details that had been disclosed, and it showed that while Strong and Gasius did buy bottled water, it wasn't real water. It was a spring water from a different manufacturer. So then, on November 4th, 2024, years later, Strong's deposed, and she has a new story. Her counsel asks her, quote, "You think there was a purchase of real water at a gas station convenience store prior to shopping at Walgreens. Is that correct?" Answer, a resounding and emphatic, "Yes, I guess." She even testified that the purchase wasn't on 10/20/2020. Instead, she said it happened earlier, days prior, when driving into town. Gasius similarly changed her testimony when she produced a declaration providing a story now consistent with the new story that Strong had produced in her deposition. Your Honor, only two options exist. Either both of these plaintiffs were wrong about the store where they purchased the water, or they were wrong about the water that they purchased. Either way, they've provided false testimony under oath regarding the key issue of their claims, consumption of this product. This is not an ancillary issue, Your Honor. As the plaintiffs drank this water only once, if at all, the issue of whether they actually purchased the water could not be more relevant to this case. The only proof that she has now, at this point, both of them, is their own testimony, which by their own admission is inconsistent. Two different stories separated by 2.5 years, both under oath. This is not a collateral fact, Your Honor. In the Mackey v. State case, which the plaintiffs cite in their trial brief, and for the record, that's 112 NEV 642, that's a case where a criminal defendant was convicted of drug trafficking. Unrelated to the trafficking, the defendant had used illicit drugs on the day of his arrest. He denied it under oath, and the prosecutor impeached him with a photograph showing that he had been doing drugs that day. The Nevada Supreme Court held that illicit drug use was a collateral fact to a drug trafficking charge. This is an entirely different fact pattern. There couldn't be anything more germane to their claims than whether they actually consumed the product that they're claiming caused their harm. It's obviously relevant. It's relevant to their credibility, and it's relevant to the facts of their claim. And while introducing inconsistent prior statements made under oath is prejudicial, it is not unfairly so. These are their own statements, Your Honor. And while this court did grant plaintiffs' motion for summary judgment, specifically on the issue of prior medical specials, you'll notice that neither Strong nor Gasius were included in that motion or the order. Also, the only testimony that they had produced...
What about the February 26, 2025 order?
Say that again, sorry, Your Honor.
What about the February 26, 2025 court order entered in this matter?
The granting the summary judgment as to
Yes.
causation?
And what about paragraph number 21?
Well, that's the problem that we've had all along, Your Honor, is that I don't know how that order could have been entered when they have inconsistent statements. They're the only people that can testify to this. Their first story was completely disproven. They changed it to a new one. Depriving the jury the ability to hear that is unduly prejudicial to the defense.
Well, it seems to me you're asking for a motion for reconsideration, because when I look at the summary judgment order, because when I read the order, and tell me if I'm wrong or not, it says, and this is at paragraph 21, quote, "There is no genuine dispute that all real water products consumed by each plaintiff, including the retail and 5-gallon jugs, contain hydrazine." And that's a determination I made, and that was entered in the order.
I have no problem with that part of your finding, Your Honor. The question here is whether they consumed it.
It says consumed right here. It
I thought
says
the part that you read said that there was hydrazine
no,
in
it
all
says
the
there's no
products.
genuine dispute that all real water products consumed by each plaintiff.
Right, and our question is whether each plaintiff consumed it.
I've already ruled as a matter of law that they've consumed it.
Well,
And that's why I asked
Again-
the question, are you asking for a motion for reconsideration of my prior summary judgment order entered in this matter?
no, we just want to be able at this point to present the inconsistent statements that plaintiffs made under oath under penalty of perjury as it relates to the facts of their claim.
But what you want to do is not only inconsistent, but adverse to a prior motion in this case, by granted summary judgment, as to each plaintiff consumed real water.
Well, Your Honor, part of the problem too is that plaintiffs have not provided any expert opinion whatsoever as it relates to Plaintiff Gasius. There's no one testifying as to her damages. There's no one testifying as to causation. She has no expert opinion whatsoever to back up her claims. So to allow her to come in and whitewash her inconsistent statements and
But
then
see, that's a
present-
different issue. I'm just talking about the issue regarding consumption. Because I see the term used here, consumed. That means consumption by each plaintiff. Consumed by each plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor, and again, it does not make sense to the defense that an order was entered saying they consumed this water when there is no proof that they did. The only proof we had is inconsistent statements from these plaintiffs. Their claim the first time they made it was disproven. They changed their story. To deprive the jury of hearing that, because it does go to credibility, it is not ancillary.
But you're not answering my question regarding the order. I've made specific findings because right now it appears to me that this is a motion for reconsideration. And the time for reconsideration has run as far as that's concerned.
Our point is that we should be allowed to impeach them on their inconsistent under oath statements.
Notwithstanding the fact that I've ruled as a matter of law they consumed real water.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I understand.
So for that reason, the only basis they have for saying that they consumed this product was a story that was changed under oath.
And we go further at paragraph 23. Similarly, this is a quote, similarly, there is no genuine dispute that the legal cause of plaintiff's injuries was their consumption of the hydrazine-riddled real water.
Correct, that's why we opposed that motion. That's why we didn't agree with the court's order on that point. Notwithstanding that, because that's not before you at this point, we would like to be able to impeach these plaintiffs on their inconsistent statements as it relates to the key fact of their claim.
Okay,
Thank you, Your Honor.
thank you, sir. Ma'am,
Can
get
you
the
hear
last.
me well enough from back here? So, Your Honor, everything that they said is, you still have to establish why it's relevant, and they have not done that here. This court determined that there was no contrary evidence presented that demonstrated a genuine issue of material fact for trial on liability and causation. That's done. They agreed to the order. They gave our authority to submit it. You read it here today. There's nothing in that. Everything that they sought to present today is entirely collateral and irrelevant and more prejudicial than probative in any way, shape, or form. So for those reasons, we would request that it be precluded today. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, actually, I think it's more than that because I've ruled as a matter of law that there's been consumption of real water by each plaintiff in this case.
Exactly.
And that's, we talk about law of the case, that's the law of the case.
Yeah.
Right there. I mean, this whole case right now, it comes down to damages, basically. So as far as the request is concerned, and especially in light of the prior summary judgment order entered in this matter, I'm going to grant your request, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm quite sure. Are there exhibits you're going to use?
Yes, Your Honor. We are going to propose 402. Tyler, are you doing? Ms. Bonnar? Ms. Bonnar?
Yeah, I've responded to this. I didn't hear what you responded back, so.
Yes, Your Honor, they're objecting, saying that the liver injury, that they did not move for summary judgment and inconsistent with your prior order, that these records are now irrelevant because the liver injury is not included in your causation order. There's nothing that says that in your causation order. We just went through your causation order line by line. We got summary judgment granted on Ms. Strong's liver injury. In fact, defense even admitted in their own motion for summary judgment that she did have a liver injury, which was right for trial. So these records are entirely relevant.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, these records are all taken out of order. They are not complete. We go from
Wait.
Wait, Marshall.
We go from strong 742 to strong 1615. The court's already made it clear that when it comes to the plaintiffs in this case, they're not to opine as to their medical treatment, their future care, et cetera, based upon objections that were lodged and sustained when we asked them about them. So unless she's trying to refresh this individual's recollection of what treatment she received, there is no doctor that I know of, medical doctor, coming in to testify regarding what's in these records and what they mean. And this particular individual certainly is not qualified to give those opinions, and those were the reasons why I objected. Thank you.
These are the medical records. Similarly to the motion that we made earlier as well, they waived their objections related to it. We've clearly established how they're relevant. She talks about obviously she goes through her treatment, refreshes her recollection going through. These are entirely relevant to the damages portion, so any other objections are waived to the extent they wish to complete the record. Completeness is not a bar to admission, as Your Honor is well aware. So if they would like to supplement with any additional records, they have the ability to do so. We circulated these yesterday. Additionally, Your Honor, like we said, these are relevant. She can testify as to them because they demonstrate her own personal damages, her medical treatment, what she experienced in the hospital.
Your Honor, having a layman read medical records is inappropriate, as counsel is well aware, and as the court has made clear, and prior witnesses in this case, if they need to refresh her recollection of what treatment she received on what days, that's perfectly fine. But what has been the practice of plaintiffs thus far is to put these records up on the board and just have the person read them back to them. And that's inappropriate with an expert, but certainly inappropriate with a layman. And for that reason is she can get up there, and we already have a motion for summary judgment on this, that she can get up and testify as to her condition and how it impacted her, but she has no doctor. She has nobody who proved these records up as being reasonable and necessary. There's nothing in these records that would suggest.
Well, there's two
must have
issues there. There's two issues there. Number one, the records wouldn't establish whether the treatment was reasonable and necessary. Of course, you need a doctor for that. However, I've ruled as a matter of law, based upon the current status of the case at the time, that each plaintiff consumed and suffered injury as a result of the hydrazine in the real water. She can talk about the problem she had, because I've ruled on that. It appears to me the real big issue is what to do with the medical specialists.
And
That's
Your Honor,
it.
I don't, just to go to Mr. Johnson's last point, he must have been sleeping during Dr. Datnell's testimony, but he lined up through her medical causation as well and talked about her liver injury related to the DILI and the toxicity related thereto and related to hydrazine.
Your Honor, being the trial attorney in this case, I never take a day off. Perhaps counsel forgot that this doctor who's on the stand made no mention of specials, which is the correct response to your question. There are no doctors who can establish specials in this case, as it relates to either Ms. Casillas or Ms. Strong. So again, my objection stands. In the unlikely event that Ms. Strong needs to have her recollection refreshed, there's no need to have these records put up there because they don't have a doctor establishing this treatment is reasonable and necessary, even as selectively pulled from the
Well, no, there's a difference there between causation and the medical expenses,
Right.
right? There's a difference there. That's a different issue.
So if all they have to do is come in and saying is, we're not making any claims for medical specials as it related to Ms. Strong, that would resolve a lot of this, but they haven't. So it appears to me that they're still hanging on to that even though they don't have a doctor to establish that. We can't backdoor it through Ms. Strong.
All right.
And this is not a Rule 50 motion at this time, Your Honor, so it's.
I understand that. I do. But anyway, let's go ahead and then we'll hear what she has to say. And you can ask her about her treatment. If she needs her recollection refreshed regarding specific treatment, that's fine.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Bring him in.
Is that? Yeah. It shouldn't take more than 15 minutes, I think. Oh, direct? See, tree very long.
All rise for the jury.
All right.
See, tree very long. Should take it back.
Please be seated.
All right, do the parties stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
You do, Your Honor.
Okay, ma'am.
Plaintiff will call their next witness, Carolyn Strong.
Right.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. May I restate and spell your name for the record?
Carolyn Strong, Carolyn, Strong, Strong.
Thank you.
Please have seat cautious, that wheel's on that shows.
Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's introduce yourself to the jury a little bit. Tell me about yourself.
I'm Carolyn Strong. I'm 65 years old. I grew up in Orange County, California, and then raised my 3 adult kids in San Diego, and I currently live in Orange County now. I'm married to my husband, or going on 12 years, and we do lots of hiking. We like to be outside. We have a small RV, so we're always taking RV trips and then going to national parks and with family whenever they can come. And between our blended family, we have 11 grandchildren, the youngest being 3 months old, 17 to 3 months old.
So they keep you busy?
Yeah, hoping for more too.
Let's kind of transition to why we're here today. Let's go back to October of 2020. Why did you visit Las Vegas?
COVID was kind of winding down, and we wanted to go. I've always wanted to go hike at Red Rocks, so we thought that was a good time. We could take a break and get a little breather out and do Red Rock.
And so while you were hiking at Red Rock, unrelated to real water, you had a seizure which resulted in your hospitalization. Is that correct?
Correct.
And may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm handing you what's proposed Exhibit 402. Can you look through those, please? Can you tell me what these are?
Here to be my biopsy, my liver biopsy. And other medical records from from Balboa Navy Hospital.
Your Honor, we would move to admit these records. Exhibit 402.
And is that exhibit 402?
402.
Shall be admitted.
Thank you. At the hospital here in Las Vegas, did you have scans taken?
I believe I had a CT scan done at the Summerlin Hospital.
And Shane, if we can put up Exhibit 402, page 5, please. And here's the CT scan you just talked about. The The first sentence after CT scans, the liver has diminished density consistent with fatty infiltration. Before drinking rail water, were you ever diagnosed with fatty liver?
Never, no.
Moving forward a little bit in time, around November, was there a time when you started to not feel well?
Yes, November, I started just feeling really dizzy, weak. I couldn't eat. I had really bad pain in my my liver area. And just was really brain fog. I couldn't remember things. And I lost about 25 pounds in a short period of time. And just not feeling well. And then later noticed, my daughter had noticed that my skin was very golden, and my neighbor had noticed it too. So then I eventually ended up going to the emergency room.
So if I heard you correctly, you said you started noticing an appearance of your skin. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And just kind of describe to the jury what you noticed. Describe for the jury what you noticed.
Just on my skin, just a real golden yellowy color. My eyes were very jaundiced, yellowing.
And that's when you decided you needed to go to the hospital?
I didn't go right away because I was thinking, oh, I'll feel better. I feel better. But I've never been sick. I've never stayed in the hospital, and ended up calling my doctor and telling him what was going on. And they said, come down to the emergency room right now. So that's what we did.
And what hospital did you go to first?
After Summerlin?
Yes.
Balboa Hospital, Balboa Navy Hospital in San Diego.
And shortly after you arrived at Balboa, what happened next?
They did some tests. I can't remember exactly which order. It was all pretty foggy back then. But then I think I had a CT scan there. I can't remember what other one I had done there.
Was there a time where you had to be transferred?
Yeah, they took me by ambulance to a special script screen in La Jolla that did an endoscopy to check my liver. I had a lot of blood tests when I was there, and they saw that I had high liver enzymes and just couldn't figure out what's going on. So they wanted to do further testing.
And Shane, if we can put up page 6, please. In the middle paragraph under assessment and plan, it says transferred to Scripps Torrey Pines as no advanced endoscopy is available at Balboa Navy Hospital. Was it your understanding that Balboa didn't have the doctors or equipment necessary to treat you at that time?
Correct. They had the equipment, but the doctor was not available.
And you mentioned blood tests. Did you have your blood taken often while you're at the hospital?
Yes, I had my blood drawn every 4 hours, and all through the night, they'd wake me up in the middle of the night. I had an IV in, and eventually they were sticking me everywhere, and my veins started to scar over, so they had to do blood draws out of my feet. And that was for a week total that I was in the hospital having all that done.
And as part of these blood tests, they also tested your liver enzymes?
Correct.
Shane, if we can put up page 7, please. So here's one of the blood tests. Scroll a little bit down for me, Shane. Do you see here where it shows your AST and ALTs?
Correct, yes.
And it says your ALT was 363 and your ASTs were 184.
Yes.
Was it your understanding that your liver enzymes rose while you were at the hospital?
Yes, they did.
Shane, if we could go to page 18, please. And at the top here, those are the big long words for AST and ALTs, but you see it says 548 and 394. Do you see that there?
Yes.
What was it like having your blood taken every 4 hours on the hour?
Well, not only painful, it was scary because we'd have a whole group of doctors coming in and just kept testing, and it was getting worse. And just scared of what was happening, what was going on, how come they couldn't figure it out.
And were the doctors able to kind of explain your situation to you?
Meaning what was going on with my test results, but not any answer to why.
And what were the symptoms that you kept having at the hospital?
I had extreme pain in my abdomen. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't eat. Anytime I'd eat anything, I'd feel nauseous and sick, and I had headaches, blurred vision, very, very, very dark urine. I don't know if they had something going in my IV, but I had to take it if I had to go to the bathroom, and just bad headaches and blurry vision.
And about how long were you at Balboa Navy Medical Center?
I think I was there for a day before they transferred me to Scripps Green, and then 3 days at Scripps Green. And then after they did the echoscope, they took me back to Balboa because they wanted to do the liver biopsy.
So you were taken from one hospital to another and then transferred back to the hospital.
Yeah, all by ambulance.
Describe that experience.
It was really scary, just not knowing what was happening, and worried about my family, my kids. They were all worried, and just being poked and prodded, and just the fear of what's going on, what's going to be, what's the answer going to be, if that it could be very bad.
And Shane, if you can put up page 12, please.
One more time with the page.
Page 12, please. And these medical records are some of the smallest I've seen, but it says that you were transferred back for further management as there's a continued rise in your liver enzymes associated without explanation. Was it your understanding that you were not being released because your liver enzymes weren't going down?
Correct.
And you mentioned the 20 pounds of unintentional weight loss.
20 or 25.
25. Kind of tell me about that. How did you lose that weight?
I was just in the hospital room and not being able to eat, and just couldn't sleep, couldn't lay down. It would hurt my stomach if I laid down. And I always had an appetite, so to not have an appetite was unnerving, scary.
And was this during COVID?
Yes.
Were you able to have your family around as you processed this information?
No, and I had to the only person that could come in was my husband. And I was so weak and tired that I couldn't even really talk to any of my family or friends. My husband was able to be there, so he was relaying everything that was going on to my family. My mother was dealing with, my father was very ill and dying, so she had to hear everything from my husband. She was worried about me, and I couldn't be there for her. She needed a caregiver. We had to bring a caregiver in for my father, but just scary not to even be there for my family, and having my kids worry about me. And as a parent, you want to be the one taking care of your kids, not them taking care of you. Worried.
So it interfered with those personal relationships with your dad?
Absolutely. And then by the time I was feeling better and could come to their house to see them, he had passed away a month later. So I missed a lot of that time with him and my grandkids.
At some point, did the doctors decide a liver biopsy was necessary?
Yes.
What was it like when you heard that you needed a liver biopsy?
I was very scared. That was serious.
And Shane, if we could put up page 3, please. And we heard about this from Dr. Datnow, and you heard Dr. Datnow's description of your pathology slide.
Mhm.
How does that make you feel?
Worried for my future and what damage it's done, and what I'm gonna have to, what's the rest of my life gonna be like? Is it gonna get worse? Am I gonna be around?
And ultimately, were you released from the hospital?
After a week in the hospital, yes.
And what was your understanding of why you were released?
COVID was going on, and there were COVID patients all around me. I was tested for COVID 3 times in one day, and just my levels were not, at that point, they weren't going down, but they had stabilized. So they thought it would be safer for me to be at home while I was, because they couldn't figure it out. So they said, just wait, we're going to see what happens. And I would go to Camp Pendleton Navy Hospital, which is closer to my house, and have my blood tested every 3 days for a while. And then I was able to go every week. And then every 3 months I would test, and they were going down. They were not 100% normal, but they just still didn't know what was going on or why it happened. And now I go every 6 months. And I have been going every 6 months since then. So the anxiety of getting that test done, wondering, is it going to be high? Is it going to be normal? Is pretty scary.
And that's something you deal with every time you get your liver enzymes checked?
And thinking about it till the next time, too.
And Shane, if we could pull up page 25, please. So you said you were getting tested every 3 days until approximately February 24th or so?
That sounds about right, yeah. My husband would drive me to the hospital. I couldn't drive myself. I was still having all the other symptoms of, just a lot of brain fog, couldn't remember a lot of words, which I still can't. I'm getting better, but I still have problem remember dates or kids' birthdays for a while. I couldn't remember my address. And that was really scary.
And as you sit here today, do you plan on continuing to get your liver enzymes checked regularly?
Yes, I have to.
And the jury heard from Dr. Sands on Friday. He recommends future neuropsychological and cognitive monitoring and treatment. Are you committed to seeking those recommendations?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you feel like all your symptoms from Real Water have resolved?
No. I still, mostly the brain fog and stuff. I don't have the pain in my liver right now, but anytime I get a little twitch, I wonder if something's coming back with my liver, if something's wrong with my liver from the damage that was caused.
And emotionally, how are you doing today?
Not good. It's really traumatic to bring everything back and remember everything, and watching my kids be so afraid and not being able to come be with me in the hospital. And so that was probably the hardest part too. Just not know if I was going to see my other grandkids, and I still worry about that.
Was it even hard taking the stand today?
It was very hard because it just brings everything back. So yeah, it's hard.
Well, thank you very much, Carolyn. I think those are going to be all the questions I have for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your Honor, do you want me to go, or you want to take a lunch break? Whatever y'all want to do. It always seems like it's short when I'm talking, but it's probably long. Maybe 20 minutes?
Get it done.
Yeah, then we can get her done, Your Honor.
Y'all want to do it? Let's do it. Thank you. Thank you, counsel.
I'm not helping you. You said, let's do it. You do it.
Well, I'm sorry. I know it's emotional up there, Ms. Strong. So we'll just kind of cut to the chase. Let's kind of do it in reverse order. We had a Dr. Sands up here, lost track of days, talking about some recommendations that he had for you. How long have you known about those recommendations?
I can't remember when I had a Zoom meeting with him. I can't remember exactly
Well,
when it was.
that's okay. Council asked you if you were committed to following those recommendations, correct? You remember that question?
Yes.
And you said yes. What were the recommendations that you're committed to following?
Cognitive care, evaluations.
And how far have you gotten along with that?
Well, I haven't seen anybody yet. My mom, now that my dad's passed, my mom's 90 and I've been caring for her. She's fallen down and so I've been having to stay with her, and my daughter had a baby, so I've been there helping with her too. So, you know, family kind of coming first.
So you haven't been committed enough, at least up to this point, to follow those recommendations, correct?
I haven't gone yet.
You haven't thought about it? Okay. You were in Vegas when you had an unrelated to real water medical situation in which you were hospitalized, correct?
I'm not sure if it was unrelated, but I had something.
Okay. Do you know of any medical doctors who will be testifying on your behalf related to treatment you received at any hospital?
No, I don't.
What's that?
No,
The time that you were in Las Vegas and consumed real water, that was one time,
one trip,
one trip, correct?
correct.
And that trip was in October 21, approximately there, 2020.
We arrived in Las Vegas on the 19th, and we went hiking on the 21st. So that those 3 days we were here.
And that's when you had, as your attorney noted to you, unrelated to real water medical situation that involved you being hospitalized, correct?
Correct.
And since that time frame, the October 19 through October 21, 2020 visit, you haven't consumed real water, correct?
Correct.
You didn't consume it before and you didn't consume it after.
Correct.
Yet we were talking today and looking at medical records regarding another hospital stay you had related to some liver ailments that you were having. You recall when that was?
When I was in the hospital for my liver injuries.
Well, I think that's the point
Okay.
of your testimony.
November. That was in November. Early November. Well, I had feeling symptoms of that before then, but the time that I went to the doctor, it was November when I finally went to the hospital.
Medical records we were looking at was December 7, 2020. Does that refresh your recollection? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, I think it was December. Yeah, December 1st is when I went to. I thought you meant when I started feeling
Well, I think I actually
symptoms.
have those records here. Do you want to refresh your recollection as when you went there?
I'm looking at this
Oh, you
paper
got 'em.
now.
So what
yeah.
is the date there on that first page?
Well, this is when I had the liver biopsy. It was December 7th.
Okay, December 7th.
But
And
prior,
you
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Before Thanksgiving is, and even sooner than that is when I was starting to feel the nausea and they have the colored skin and.
So a month later.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes? Yes.
Less than a month.
And then you had other unrelated to real water issues that required hospitalization during that period of time as well, did you not?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And so you would have been separated from your family during that period of time, correct?
That was 3 days.
You were separated
Correct.
from your family for that period of time?
Yes.
let's talk about how you're doing now. Because now we're over 4 years since the consumption of real water. Would you agree health-wise that your memory is still kind of hard to remember things like words and stuff?
Yes, sometimes it's hard for me to find the words that I want to say.
And, you know, sometimes it may take you a while to remember words. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But you would agree that you're getting better. You're feeling, more normal.
Correct.
Other than that, let's talk about your liver enzymes. Those have gotten back to normal, correct?
My last blood test, they were in the normal range.
Okay, well, we're 4 years out. Is it not true that your liver enzymes, by your own testimony, has gotten back to normal?
Yes, correct.
And you only get tested now? Correct.
Every 6 months I go and get tested.
Okay. You don't have to go every 3 months now, do you?
Not anymore, no.
Okay. So other than the memory part that you are talking about, your brain fog, everything is okay, isn't it?
Physically, yes.
Well, mentally, you haven't gone to see the mental healthcare professionals, correct?
No, like I said, it wasn't that long ago that I had that evaluation. And at the time, my mother was sick and had fallen, so I had been caring for her.
And like you said, it's been over 4 years.
Not since I had the evaluation.
It's been 4 years since your exposure to real water, per your testimony.
Yes, late 2020.
And you've had a doctor who, I think a neuropsychologist who did an examination of you?
Yeah, so
And remind me, was that one in person?
we had to do it Zoom.
You had to do it Zoom? Okay. And you haven't followed that doctor's recommendation as of today's date?
No, but it was recently.
Thank you. Oh, anything further?
Is that it, sir?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you think it's lunchtime now? I do. Remember, you're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject matter connected to the trial, or to read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial by any persons connected with this case, or by any medium of information, including without limitations, newspaper, television, radio, social media. Right? You got that. I know you do. Or last but not least, not form or express any opinion on any subject matter connected with this trial until the cause is finally submitted to you. Just as important to remember, because we haven't talked about it in a couple of days, but if you have any inadvertent contact with the lawyers or witnesses to this case, and for whatever reason you might say hello or whatever, they can't respond. You understand that? And you promise you won't hold that against them, right? Won't do it. I just want to remind you of that. But anyway, 1:15.
All right. Just saying, baby.
Okay, counsel, anything else?
Is
that it?
I believe so, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything from the plaintiffs?
I think we're good, Your Honor. I may not be here exactly when you get back. I gotta go get a allergy shot. But,
And those allergies are going around, Mr. Parker.
that's why I'm gonna do it. An allergy shot right now.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, enjoy your life. All right, let's go ahead and set forth our appearances for the record.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Robert Eckler, plaintiff.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Maggie D. Federico, for the plaintiffs. Brianna Spitzer for plaintiffs.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Eric Peppermint for plaintiff.
Brad Johnson, Tyler Watson, Michael Esposito, and Eric Freeman on behalf of the defendants, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, the jury's here, so we can get started.
All rise for the jury. Please be seated.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hope you enjoyed your lunch. All right. And so, parties, do we stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have we noted appearances? All right, Mr. Kemp, you ready to proceed, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, plaintiffs call their next witness, Brent Mills.
Okay.
You stand, please, madam. Raise your right hand, please. Stand, please, madam. Raise your right hand, please.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
May I have you state and spell your name for the record?
Brent Thomas Mills, BRENTTHOMAS,
Thank you.
Be cautious. I will choose.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am, you may proceed.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Brent.
Hello.
Do you mind if I use your first name?
Yeah, certainly.
What do you do for work?
I am a producer and choreographer for the entertainment industry, mainly the dance and TV industry, for creating music and sound to be licensed commercially or used in performances.
What kind of shows do you produce music for?
I've done So You Think You Can Dance, the PBS show for ballroom dancing that comes on PBS every year. Just television shows that need music for dancing, either license clearing or I make a sound alike for them to use.
How did you get started doing that?
I was self-taught piano since I was 3, started playing drums at 10, then went to Berklee College of Music after high school and studied piano performance there. Then to Brigham Young University, and I got my dance degree there as I started dancing in high school. And that was where I got my first job playing music for the dancers in technique classes. So I became a dance musician, and that's where I started getting work creating music for dancers.
Do you have any children?
I have one child.
Can you tell us a little bit about her?
She is 25. She lives in Gilbert, Arizona. Graduated from Northern Arizona University and is an interior designer.
Are you close with Lisa's kids?
Yes, she has her 2 children, Courtney and Porter. I'm very very close to those two kids, yes, down to like nickname level. I actually got nicknames from them.
What is your relationship to Lisa?
Lisa is my life partner, my significant other.
How did you and Lisa meet?
I was hired at a studio here in Las Vegas to choreograph and produce a song for one of the students there that was doing a song and dance number. And so typically when they hire me for any project, they will fill my other hours, because it's usually multiple days, they'll fill my other hours with other lessons, other students that want to take or have some coaching or technique. So her coach, she reluctantly was going to do it because she went there for like a stress relief from her crazy corporate job. So that was recreational. So to train, was a little different attitude. So he talked her into it. He said, "I think you'll like it." So yeah, that was our first introduction. I was the coach and she was the student, and yeah, it was very interesting because she's such a hard worker and just in charge of everything that she has. And then I came in and said, "I don't like your feet. I don't like your feet. Your feet they're not right to me." And that was when she was like, "Who is this guy? Who's this guy telling me what my feet are?" But she knew I was the coach, so she couldn't, and that was the beginning of our amazing relationship, actually. So, yeah.
What year was that?
That was 2017.
When was the next time you and Lisa saw each other after that first meeting?
It's about a month later. We separated there with numbers and texting and joking. And I had another gig at the time. I was living in Arizona still. I had another event at the Luxor. So luckily one night I had a Saturday night off, which is not typical. So I called her up. I'm like, "Hey, you want to come down to the Strip on a Saturday night, pick me up, and we'll go out?" And not knowing that is not a favorable gesture here in Las Vegas, being Saturday night at the Strip. So luckily I was being cool, and she said, "Okay, I will come down for you." And so we went out on a date, and that was our first time out together, and we went to dinner, and then I talked her into coming back to my event because the after party was happening. And we ended up just hanging out with the staff till about 4 a.m. So that was a great start and a great, that was a good date.
Where were you living at that time?
I was living in Gilbert at that time, and touring in one of my touring trailers doing the shows.
Did you eventually move to Las Vegas to be with Lisa?
Yes, that was about early 2018.
And do you and Lisa live together?
Yes.
When did you move in together?
About early 2018, yeah.
What kind of person is Lisa?
Lisa, multifaceted Lisa. I like, people say people about puzzles. I don't think she's a puzzle. I think she's a Rubik's Cube. I think she's a Rubik's Cube because not only does she have different, colors of her and what she does, but her dimensions, she has these multiple dimensions and I didn't even know what it was about. I just knew when I first met her that she was this corporate sales of medical, all this, and that she had a little bit of a fighting experience. And so, I was like, oh, corporate person. And then as I got to know her, especially her sales experience, because I was in sales, I had my clients and I have to sell my shows and my things. And so I was like, oh yeah, she's into sales, but didn't really know how deep into sales, like corporate $1 million sales contracts and whatnot. And then, you start talking about your past and her being a mother so early in life. And I had an older brother that had a child early in life. And I remember how dramatic that was and the big change it was. And so I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And, divorced parents. I'm like, oh, I had divorced parents. But I quickly learned that my life compared to her life and all these facets of the professional world, our personal lives, I was really quite sheltered. I mean, I had divorced parents, boo-hoo, but she had divorced parents plus a whole other slot of problems of different abuse, different situations of school. And so then I was like, oh, that is quite the story. And then her whole fighting history and why she went into fighting. and the reasons for fighting, because I just thought she trained and she fought and had a few tournaments. I didn't know about this going to Thailand until later, and then the TV show. And so, because again, I went into the relationship thinking, oh yeah, I've got my business, I've got my performances, I've done shows all over the world, China, everywhere. But yet, you know, she was a fighter, but then she had her show, and then she tells me she was on the Today Show. So I'm like, oh, just the Today Show? That's 20 million people a day. So I quickly learned, like, her life was so large. It was like a Rubik's Cube, because no matter, when I watch her, you know, navigate her children as a mother, because she took care of those kids, and to this day she takes care of those kids because she guides them, because of what her life experience was when she had to start out early on her own, make her own money, not be vulnerable that way. So to me, that is the most impressive thing, where they can not only change colors and get back to where they are, but just all these dimensions that she has. And I've never been able to figure out how she gets back to all colors in unity, but without fail, you know, through all those experiences in life, professional, personal, and what her fighting career, it wasn't a comparison.
What kind of person has that shaped Lisa into, all of those experiences?
It has shaped her into a very independent woman. And from the very get-go, I learned that she was a very independent woman. And I liked that because to me, I was always the caretaker. And so independence to me was freedom and something that was very attractive to me. So through her experience, not only her relationships that would go south, she loved her job. She loved the pursuit of the job. And then her whole fighting career, training all these ladies in self-defense, training these cops to do takeaways and all the security, like all this knowledge just kept coming into me. And I was like, wow, this is way more than she even let on to, which is her. She doesn't just reveal it all. She'll say, yeah, this is what I've done. But you have to get in there and sink your teeth in. And so her independence was a big deal to her, and I really respected that.
Can you talk to us a little about when Lisa first got sick with her myasthenia gravis and her autoimmune hepatitis, and what it was like to watch her navigate those illnesses?
Yeah. So I was there from the beginning, because when I first met her, I knew she went to the gym every day. She was training these students and whatnot. So as I was going to the doctor with her, or these effects would come, and it was so confusing because each appointment would be a different message or a different something from this doctor. Well, I think it's this. And we would get confused, and I would ask questions, but we were trying to navigate, and I just watched her navigate her own healthcare because of the different messages she was getting. And if it was me, you know, I would be one doctor, the doctor would say, you go over to this specialist, and then I would have to wait for the specialist, and I'd probably, you know, not make it. Or she knew the specialist, and she knew the specialist of that specialist, and knew if she could get this other so it's just like a tree of medical genealogy that she was able to navigate and have to go through, because she didn't, you know, her experience in the medical world, she didn't trust it completely. So she took it upon herself to really, you know, do it more on her own and see what she could find out. So then we would get all confused at the appointment. We would come home and be like, well, what do we think? I don't know. And then we'd go to bed, and then I'd roll over, get up to go to the bathroom. It's 3 a.m, and, you know, she's scrolling on her phone, and I'm like, you know, are you all right? And she's like, well, she says it could also be blah, 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 which were just dire things, you know, because you start scrolling, and I could see a tear in her eye, and it was just, you know, and then of course I can't sleep because I know, you know, she's there. So then the next day, she'd be like, oh, well, I got a meeting at 6 a.m. I'm not feeling my best. So she would have to navigate these Zoom calls with 10 people to 80 people and just try to maintain. And then the Zoom call would go on, and then she would collapse and just be like, okay, regroup. So just the simple fact of her navigating an unknown illness when maybe 4 or 5 doctors were giving us these different directions, we'd also get excited because they would also put things together and we would say, oh yeah, that's right, that does make sense. And then of course we'd come home and then we'd start doing research. And next thing you know, we're in another rabbit hole because that one thing that we thought was better really wasn't as better, or it had its own side effects and whatnot. So go ahead.
Did you ever observe Lisa having a tightening sensation in her throat or difficulty with her breathing?
Yeah, I would watch her. It became a kind of indicator because our offices are side by side a little bit. But I can see her all the time. Her back is to me, and as I'm working, I could look at her and I see her doing this. She's talking on the phone, and I can see her doing this. She's pulling her shirt, and at first she would just say, "My neck is just kind of being weird," you know. And I always brush things off because I never really go serious until it really feels serious. But knowing her, she doesn't really let on that she's panicking. She won't really allow that. She just starts talking in it. So at first I would be like, oh, it'll go away, it'll be whatnot. But after the first hospital visit, that wasn't true. So now I just became very sensitive that her gesture to her neck probably meant like we're going to the ER, you know. So that was quite revealing because at first I was just like, oh, she's just having a breathing problem. But then as I would see it panic her, I would see that she's like almost thinking like, if I don't get somewhere, I'm going to die. And so that's when we started to really be careful about, you know, how she was feeling and trying to navigate each different symptom that would arise.
Did that worry her at all when it came to work and juggling that with those symptoms?
Oh, 100%, because she manages 12, 14 states. She has teams of 10s and 20s and 50s and these phone calls that she has to do with all these meetings. She's a talker and she has to talk. And not only does she have to talk, she has to have diction. She has to use an energy to be that leader that all the staff is counting on her. But then all of a sudden when she would start feeling her neck go or her breathing, then she couldn't. She would have a panic attack. We would try to calm it down. I would watch her do the meeting, and as soon as the meeting was over, it just back to bed, back to collapse. So I became very sensitive because even one time I saw her doing it. It was the morning of Thanksgiving. So the morning of Thanksgiving, I see this starting to happen, and I'm like, no, come on. All of our kids are in town. We're gonna take a 4-hour ride to Utah and stay in this beautiful cabin and ski. We're all so excited. And sure enough, there we go. And it went south and we went to the ER, and so we're all saying, we're not going, we're gonna stay home with you. And she's like, no, you're not, you are going. The money's there, you are going. And we fought, and after a while, we had to relent, we had to go, and we did not enjoy it. But Lisa was not gonna let us, her family, the way she always does is protect us, even me, and she doesn't want to be that person. She doesn't want to be that person that makes everybody have to stop and stay and take care of. That's one of her biggest fears, I'm sure. So, yeah.
You mentioned earlier that Lisa's had a fighting career and she's really active. Can you tell us what it was like for someone that's used to being active to lose their ability to walk and stand up at times from her MG?
Oh yeah. For her, her physical state was a big deal. Because she went to the gym. She had to be on her game because she trained men. She had to be able to take care of herself all the time, and she was very proud of that. She was very proud that people would mistake her daughter, who the daughter was, who the mother was. She loved that was an amazing thing, and she was very proud. So. As like the weakness in her legs kept happening, then she couldn't walk. So all of a sudden we're like, well, oh, we can't even go to the zoo. We'd go to the zoo and we'd have to take a break and sit down. She would call me on the phone while she was out shopping. And she'd be like, I'm not gonna be home for a little while. I have to sit down because I started walking through the store to return and so it'd be little things like that would just impede what, we've probably canceled more vacations than we've taken. just because we don't know if there's a doctor nearby, we don't know. So it's safer for us to. So I've seen her go from activity to fighter to let's do this, let's go throw axes, let's go to the range to we don't know what we can do.
What about when her speech began to slur? How did she deal with that?
That was like, I felt like when that started happening, I felt that she felt that it was like the beginning of the end for her. Because that's what she does. She's been a proud speaker, motivator, commentating at the games, at the fights, being able to talk to her staff, all these meetings and seminars that she does. She is a talker, and she's very proud of it, and she's excellent at it. So watching her not having confidence in the way she talks, that she couldn't control her diction, she couldn't control her tone, her cadence on these types of phone calls was literally, that's when I got worried, because it would start tickling at night, right before we go to bed, and then we're like, okay, it's standing steady, and we wake up and she'd have a 6 a.m. call, and it was just a little worse, but not enough worse, but not enough to cancel the call. So she just talks herself out of it, gets ready, does the call, and then just breaks down afterwards. So that was a lot, because she had everything riding on her. And then the other part was when she would get hired for these outside gigs to go to the fights, to commentate, to be the person in the ring, she would have to give those gigs up. And if you're a gig worker, like I am, she was doing the side gigs, when you give the gig up, you don't get it back. You never get it back. No matter how much your client loves you, you're not going to get it back, because you always lose it. I know that. She knows that. And she loved doing that. She loved being at those fights. I watched her. She would invite me to those fights, and she was amazing. And the fact that now she has to pan that out to other people and never get it back, that was a big deal to all of us.
Has Lisa expressed any fear about the future to you?
Yes. Her fear is not being able to take care of herself and her independence. And that independence goes along with taking care of her kids, taking care of me, our family. And she has never been one to not be able to step up and do her own thing. And now that there's this big question mark of basically everything that we would like to do or try to do has to be inserted with, we need to make sure blah, blah, blah. And so losing that strength of just being able to make her own decisions based on her health is a game changer.
Is she afraid that her illnesses will affect her ability to work in the future?
Oh, yeah. Her job has everything to her, because it's maintained her life and her independence up to this point, all through her relationships where she had perfect opportunity to, have a relationship where the gentleman makes most of the money and she could kind of sit back, maybe work part-time. She told me many stories where I was like, why didn't you take that? Like, that would be a nice life. And she's like, because what if 5 years later he doesn't like me, or da-da-da? And I was like, and I as a man never thought in that way. So and as soon as she said it that way, I'm like, yes, that's right, that does make sense. Why would you put yourself out and not be able to take care of yourself and be codependent upon anybody? So to her, not being able to work is, to her, like a death sentence, because she will not, in her mind, allow anyone to take care of her, because she's so proud of that. And so not working is never an option for her.
Does anything about her future treatment scare her?
Well, now that the future treatments are going to be every month, 2 days a month, and the side effects that happen every time, because I've been there on every almost every dosage. The inconsistency, but that's going to have to happen every month. Yeah, that is because it's not really 2 days. It's like at least 2 weeks. So it's not like 2 days a month and we're going to be out. And then it's at least 2 weeks because it's the unknown of like, is she going to get a big headache this time? Are they going to blow out her vein because they're so weak? There's just so many questions, no matter what, even if it happens consistently, there's always different problems. And the fact of how many donators are required for this process alone is mind-blowing. And to be dependent upon that for the rest of her life is more devastating than I can even imagine.
Does she have any concerns about having to have a port placed to facilitate that treatment, like you said, so her vein doesn't blow?
Well, her veins are so weak, will probably need to put the port, and they put the port in her breast. And the fact that that's going to have to happen, that she can't work out and she can't get the physical like exercise that she wants, I'm sure she's just mentally like, I don't feel attractive. I don't feel like I look like I used to look. I'm sure, even though I love her and I don't care what she looks. I don't care what is on her. It doesn't matter to me. I know there's nothing. I don't know if I can say enough to really get that out of her mind, because that's she's been so proud of her physical presence and taking care of her body, eating the right things, training, and that way. And then now she has to have a port in her breast. So it's a whole process of the job, the whole process of going to a hospital every month and dealing with side effects. It's a huge shift in her life.
What's her biggest fear right now?
Her biggest fear is losing her independence and not being able to take care of herself. And she's prided herself on taking care of herself and her children and her job. And so if she can't do that, then she loses those as well in her mind. And she can't do that. She's never allowed her to do that in the past against so much adversity. And she kept it. She kept to maintain that the entire time. So to me now, this is, I guess, the final step, because when we were, for a couple, right before the trial, we were watching these shows, these crime shows, and there'd be these, victims up on the stand, and they're having to say things, and I would look over her, and I'd be like, I could tell she was really a little disturbed, and just way more too intense. And I like, are you all right? And she's like, oh man, I can't believe that woman, man, I can't believe. And she'd either say, that I respect this woman, I can't believe I would never be able to do that, or she would say, that's crazy, who would do that to them, And I found out that was the deal, is her sitting in the hot seat and having to expose her whole life, all of her everything that is personal to her. Because if we're having personal quiet times, she'll tell me things. She'll tell her children a few things, but it's mostly me that she'll reveal, her real fears. But that's really the real fear.
Now, that photo on the screen looks like you're traveling somewhere. Have you and Lisa ever been to China together?
No.
And that fear you were just speaking about of losing her independence and being vulnerable, does that ever leave her in your observation?
No, because it's a decision every day, like a different feeling, something that happens. Sometimes she'll have a new feeling and we'll like, oh, what's going on? And we can explain it like, oh yeah, yesterday we ate some Thai, But most of the time, it's another question mark. And so for us, the daily is, how are we feeling today? So.
Would Lisa ever express that fear to anyone?
No. If anyone, it'd be only to me. And that would be kind of after digging for it,
Is there anyone else in her close circle that she would?
Porter and Courtney, to a certain extent, but she doesn't want to burden them, because those two kids will drop everything to help her. I've watched that. They love her mother and they fiercely dedicated to her. So I'm sure she would, I mean, especially during the hospital stay, she has to, whatnot. But she if she didn't have to, she wouldn't.
Does she ever share any of her fears with her friends?
Dawn has been her best friend since I've known her, and that's for a long time. And since Dawn, being the professional that she is, I'm sure they've shared a few things.
Thank you, Brent. That's all I have for you. I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Cross-examination, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Mr. Mills. That photo that was up there that looked like you guys were somewhere at a resort on the coast, where was that?
Looked like it was Puerto Rico, the last one?
Yeah, okay. The one that.
With the blue?
Big grassy
Yeah,
area
that was
and the
Puerto
coast?
Rico.
Okay, Puerto Rico. Well, when was that?
I think it was November of 17 or 18.
Was it right when you met her?
Oh, let's see. So it would have been November 2018, because we'd already been dating.
Okay.
So that was the following November 2018. Yes.
Now, you testified earlier that you met at some kind of dance competition?
No, we met at the studio she was training at.
Was it training to do a dance competition?
She wasn't training for a dance competition specifically. She was just taking lessons, like socially.
Oh.
She had done and danced a few competitions, but she was a social dancer.
Okay. What kind of dancing was it?
The ballroom dancing.
Okay. And that's something that you're kind of professional at?
Yes.
And so you were an instructor there?
I was an independent instructor that instructed all over the country. So they're
Okay.
called coaches, and we're called into studios, and so we come in and we teach all of the students whatever they're on, their different like choreography or technique, things like that. We go on for 2 or 3 days, teach 10, 12 hours a day, and then next weekend, another studio.
Oh, okay.
Like consultants, I guess you would say.
Is that, did she like dancing?
She seemed like she liked dancing.
Do you guys-
What I like today, yes.
Do you guys still go dancing together?
No.
Does that wasn't a hobby you guys developed together?
No. We would like to go dancing, but yeah, no.
Now you said that she was her work. She was had like 12, 13 regions that she was a manager over. Or?
I believe she's managed over states. These are states.
Stay okay.
Yeah.
And is she still area vice president of the company she's working for?
Yes, as far as I know.
What is her work schedule like on a daily basis?
Calls start around 5 a.m., between 5 and 6 a.m., because the company's on the East Coast. So there's that 3-hour time gap. So that'll start then. And when she deals with West Coast, so yeah, probably about 5 to 6 p.m. on a daily.
Okay. Does you mentioned your offices you can see, or does she have a home office?
Well, she has a home office on, one side of the house, and I'm on the other side.
Okay. Does she also have to do travel to her work to the other states that she?
Varies sometimes.
What's that travel like? Is that weekly or?
I'm not sure it's a consistent thing. It's more on a on-demand basis. So when we first met, there was a lot of travel on demand. So it's just by whatever the company sends her. I have no idea, like, if it's not a consistent thing, it's not a scheduled thing. So.
Can you estimate, like a month, how many days out of a month does she need to travel for her work?
I don't know. I don't know the logistics of her. Back when what I used to know of her travel, she would be on the road 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay, and is that still? Are you away from the house a lot? Is that why you're not sure what days she's traveling? Or?
I travel for my job, so sometimes I'm gone from Thursday through Sunday, or Friday through a Monday, that type of thing. So
Okay, so you're not always at your house in your office working to observe whether she's gone out on the road that day or whatever?
Oh, I always know where she is,
Okay.
yes.
So on a monthly, to estimate, on a monthly basis, how many times would you say that she needs to go out and travel for work?
I'm not sure how many times, I'm not privy to her conversations of what her, executives ask of her.
Okay, but you always know where she is.
Yes.
And so about how many times is she not in Las Vegas at her home office or?
I really couldn't say. I would say these past years has been very little because of the kind of burden that it puts on her traveling, so.
Now, you talked a little bit about Ms. King's Muay Thai boxing career. I understand that she still does some Muay Thai cardio work, but she's not in the ring anymore. Is that right?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Muay Thai cardio work.
She's retired from that?
Not retired, just she can't do it anymore.
Did you ever do any Muay Thai training together?
I tried it during COVID. I tried it. We tried to do a little bit of exercise during the COVID time because all the gyms and facilities were shut down. So we would just have try to do casual. I had a trainer that would come in and train me. So
would you do it with her?
Sometimes she would be in the class, the room. Like the trainer came to our house. So.
Oh, okay. Did you guys ever kind of do together, like sparring her?
No.
You
No,
afraid,
I can't spar
afraid
her.
she was going to kick your butt?
100%.
Okay. I talked about the travel that she does for work. Do you guys travel a lot on vacations?
We used to, but we do not anymore.
You mentioned the Puerto Rico. I think she testified about that. You guys also went to Europe together?
We had a trip to Vienna, and why can't I think of it? Budapest.
Oh. When was the last time you guys had a vacation trip?
I think we did a small one to Hawaii, but I don't remember. It's over a year ago, that's for sure. But I don't know. My travel schedule's pretty crazy, so.
You're traveling a lot, so.
A lot of locations.
Okay.
Different locations.
So Hawaii, have you done any recent international travel?
Me personally, or?
No, together as a vacation. What, when you guys go on vacation, what do you guys like to do?
We are mostly sitters. We find a spot and we sit on the beach and we hang out and sleep, read, sleep some more, and yeah.
So they're relaxing.
It's a relaxing, go relax, unwind, and eat some good food. That's pretty much
You've
it.
talked about both of your work schedules, so it sounds like if you do get time off to travel, it's exactly that. Let's relax and unwind.
100%.
What do you guys like to do? She talked about in her deposition, like skeet shooting, skydiving. Do you guys do that kind of stuff?
Mm-mm. I haven't done it for years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
She just does it.
Oh, objection on the commentary that she just does it. She hasn't even testified here yet, Your Honor. That's insane.
When we get her up here, we can talk about what she talked about in her deposition.
Objection on the commentary, Your Honor.
So, what else do you guys like to do together?
We love our animals. So we have 5 pets, 3 cats and 2 dogs. And so they keep us quite busy. And that is, we like to karaoke. We're both amazing singers. So we think we can go out there and, hit a tune or few tunes, whatever. We love eating out. We love good food, dining experiences, and yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mills. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. To direct.
Just briefly, Your Honor. Brett, you mentioned that you'd like to go out dancing with Lisa, but you don't. Is that because it's difficult for her with her illnesses?
It's really impossible because, again, the unknown of like, we could do it, get all dressed up, find a club, go to dinner, spend all the money, hit the floor, and then her legs are gone. Or she just feels weak, really tired, really early. So, the dancing option has never really been an option since it all went down, because that's just, we feel, just asking for trouble. So, no.
Has her ability to travel for work decreased since she got sick?
Yeah, it's decreased because not only, wherever she goes, she has to make sure, there's somewhere that a hospital or somewhere where if she can't breathe or if something was happening, to go down and to make sure that she was taken care of everywhere she went. So instead of trying to navigate that and figure that out on every trip, it was like, again, pawn it out to this person or pawn it out to that person, because it was just better not to take that chance.
Has her work made accommodations for her so that she doesn't have to travel as much?
They have been trying to, and they've been working with her, and but it's a big demanding job, and the fact that she's pulling this off with how much she used to travel. COVID helped a lot to like use the video, but now, yeah. So far, so good. So far, they're maintaining.
Nothing further. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Plaintiff's call Kathleen Gossius.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? May I be state your name for the record?
It's Kathleen Gacias, Kathleen Gacias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Kathleen.
Hi, Brianna.
Good afternoon, everyone. Is this your first time testifying in court?
Yes.
How about you introduce yourself a little bit to the jury? Tell me about yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kathleen. I grew up in San Diego. Now I live in Southern California with my husband and 2 children, one of whom I had 3 months ago. And before I was a stay-at-home mom, I was a singer and a vocal teacher. I love to be in nature, go hiking, go to the beach, and just spend time with my family.
So your mom testified a little bit earlier today, but from your perspective, how about you tell me a little bit about your mom?
My mom has always been the light of the room. When I was growing up, the other kids would call her mom, to the point where I would get jealous. And she's just always been there for all of us, and a very loving person, and just an amazing woman.
So let's kind of transition to talk about why we're here today. What brought you to Las Vegas in October of 2020?
We had a tough, year with COVID and the lockdown, and we just wanted to get out and just be in a new place and go hiking at Red Rock and just have a new experience.
And while you were in Las Vegas, did you drink real water?
Yes.
And related to real water, was there a time when you started to notice that your mom wasn't herself?
Yes, I would say around Halloween, I noticed that her eyes looked yellow and her skin was starting to look gold. And I told her, Mom, are you feeling okay? You don't look yourself. And she said, no, I'm fine. And I just saw that it was getting worse and worse. She was really getting dizzy to the point that I bought her non-slip socks because I was worried about her slipping and falling. She was dropping weight. She started looking gaunt in her face. And one of the hardest things for me was seeing that the light behind her eyes was starting to fade. Like when you would talk to her, it was kind of like nothing was going on there. And that's when I started getting really anxious and worried and, saying, I want you to go to the doctor. I want you to see what's going on.
And when your mom was in the hospital at either Balboa Navy or Scripps, were you able to visit her?
No, because of COVID, we weren't able to go, and that caused like the beginning of a long battle that I had with anxiety. Not being able to be there to physically make sure she was okay was really difficult for me and my siblings.
Were you able to talk with her on the phone while she was in the hospital?
We would try, but she was just so exhausted that she couldn't even talk on the phone. So her husband would, text us, which was nice to be updated, but it's not the same as talking to your mom, FaceTiming your mom, making sure she's okay. So that was really a tough part of it.
And we heard from your mom about her experience, but from your perspective, what did you notice about her between the hospital and thereafter?
I just watched my vivacious light of the room mom just become small and frail, and as if she was like my grandma at that point instead of my mom. And just watching her struggle to walk up the stairs, struggle to remember what she was talking about, and just, it was terrifying because that's not who my mom was. And to see her just rapidly lose all that weight, it was horrible. And it's really shocking to see somebody physically change so much in such a short amount of time, and especially when it's your mom that you've known all your life. That was a hard part.
How long did it take before you started to notice that she became more of herself?
Even after 2020, I saw her, slowly regain her physical. She wasn't as dizzy, but for example, I told her I was pregnant. I put a bun in her oven and I said, Mom, open the oven. And she just looked at it and was like, what is that? And, I thought it was going to be this beautiful moment to share with her. And she didn't know what was going on. She's like, I don't understand. Why did you put that in there? And it took that, experience away that I wanted to share with her. And it took a long time to get back to where I would be talking to her and she would know what I was saying, and understand, and being able to have those conversations with her. So yeah, it took a while. And even today, she will trip up on her words or not remember what she was saying. And yeah, it's still a little bit of a struggle.
After seeing a notice from the Southern Nevada Health District, did you report your mom's illness to them?
Yes.
And did they call you and ask you questions?
Yes.
Shane, if you could put up Exhibit 1, which has been admitted. And in there it says, at least 4 states, Nevada, California, Arizona, and Utah, conducted case-finding efforts. 18 probable and 4 suspect cases were identified in Nevada, and 3 probable cases in California. Did you let the Southern Nevada Health District know that your mom was from California?
Yes.
So I know we've been talking about your mom, but did you also have some symptoms related to real water?
Yes. On the last day, I had really bad nausea. I started throwing up, gastrointestinal distress, and then I lost my appetite for a long time. I drastically dropped weight. I think I dropped 10 pounds in 2 months. I just didn't have appetite, and that was starting on the last day that we were here.
And what was this experience like overall for you, and watching what your mom had to go through?
It's been the most traumatic experience of my life. I never had anxiety before this, and I've had really, really debilitating anxiety. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I had to go to therapy 2 times a week to just kind of like get to the point where I could like hear an ambulance drive by and not feel panicked. And you know, when she first went to the hospital, my first thought was like, I haven't had babies yet, you know? I want her to be a grandma to my babies, and just was like grasping for that time with her and not being able to be in the room and not being able to know that she was there. And, you know, it was life-changing for me and my siblings and her husband, and it's been very difficult. There's been a big sense of betrayal, you know, that this happened to our family.
Thank you, Kathleen. That's all the questions I have for you.
Thank you. Bob?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Casillas, identify a medical doctor who would support your claims that you suffered any physical ailment as a result of drinking real water.
No, I did not go to the doctor.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
So the objection is sustained.
Okay. So did you see a doctor about these problems you had with your tummy and diarrhea and things of that nature?
No.
Okay. Did you see, I haven't seen any records related to a doctor for PTSD. Are you saying you saw a doctor for PTSD in this case?
I went to, it was a telemed psychologist, and talked about anxiety and what I was going through.
But that's not produced in this case, is it?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we had a doctor come in here the other day, Dr. Sands, who had interviewed your mom, and he had no record of you.
Yes, unfortunately, I was very pregnant and I was not able to have those meetings.
So do you know of any doctor who's going to come in and testify about you having PTSD in this case?
I'm not sure if they would, but I could get their information.
Yeah, I understand, but here we are. How about anxiety? Can you identify a single doctor come in to support your claim you were treated for anxiety?
I'm not sure of the question, sorry.
The same question on the PSD I'm asking about the anxiety.
Yes, it was the same doctor.
And when did this take place?
This was in 2021.
All right, so we've had plenty of time for that to be produced. 2021, 4 years ago, right? Is that right?
It has been 4 years.
Okay,
yes.
we have not seen that, just so you know. Okay. Isn't it true that when you were in town there in October of 2020, your mom had an unrelated real water health episode that caused her hospitalization?
Yes.
And wasn't it true that subsequently, when she returned to California, she had unrelated real water medical condition that caused her to have hospitalization?
Yes.
And you keep track of your mom's issues, correct?
Yes.
And some of those issues that were unrelated to real water could have affected her abilities as well in terms of remembering things.
Objection, speculation, Your Honor. Foundation.
I'll sustain.
Well, when your mother was in the hospital the first time in Las Vegas, was she having any problems with her memory and cognition?
Not that I recall. She was, I think we were just kind of all in shock that she was in the hospital. But it wasn't until we got back that I noticed the dizziness and the yellowing of skin and eyes.
Right, but when she was in the hospital in Las Vegas, that was unrelated to real water. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And is that a yes?
Can you ask the question again?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
The issue that ended up her being in the hospital in Nevada, that was not related to real water.
Yes.
Okay. And what were her symptoms then?
Her symptoms were a seizure.
Okay. And when she was in the hospital, do y'all not live in the same town?
No.
Where do you live?
I live in LA and she's about an hour south.
Okay. And when she went into the hospital subsequently, that was unrelated to real water, what were her symptoms?
She went in for surgery.
Okay. And would that have any impact in her cognition and ability to remember things?
Objection, foundation, Your Honor.
I think I laid the foundation, Your Honor.
Can I ask her what she observed?
Sure. So what did you observe as a result of her going into the hospital for that condition?
Unfortunately, I was not there because of COVID, so I was not allowed to be there to observe her.
You didn't talk to her about it?
She was sleeping a lot of the time. I wasn't able to have a conversation with her like regular.
Okay, but then when you were able to have a conversation with her, did you discuss what her symptoms were?
Yes.
And what was that?
She was having fatigue and fatigue and a lot of the symptoms that she was having around Halloween.
But that hospital stay didn't have anything to do with well water, did it? Did not, correct?
Correct.
You know a Dr. Hudson?
I've not met him, no.
Do you know a Dr. Sam?
I have not met him.
So the only doctor that you can recall seeing that you believe is related to this was in 2021, and we don't know his or her name, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, sir.
No further questions.
Thank you, ma'am. All right,
Your Honor, we can do a quick video that might take us to the 3 o'clock break.
that's fine.
Okay, Your Honor, we
Ma'am,
call.
you may step down. Watch your step. Mr. Kemp?
We call, it might be 2 videos, Your Honor, but we start with Lois Kessler.
That's fine.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this deposition will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, where do you currently reside?
Agoura Hills, California.
Could you spell that for me, please?
AGOURAHILLS. California? You want the California
No,
spell?
I got that. And did there come a time that you drank a product known as real water?
Yes.
Approximately when was that?
Well, I started drinking it approximately in 2010.
Okay. And how long did you drink it for?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but sometime between 2018 and 2020 was when the store wasn't carrying it anymore, so I did stop drinking it then.
Okay.
I'm not
Where were
exactly
you
sure.
living at? Where were you living at during that time period, 210 to 218 or 220?
In my same residence in Agoura Hills.
Okay. And what was the name of the store that you were purchasing the real water from?
Well, there was 2 stores I used to purchase it from, Bristol Farms and Sprouts.
And Bristol Farms is what kind of store?
It's a grocery store, more of a specialty grocery store.
And Sprouts would be just like the regular Sprouts you see everywhere?
Well, I don't see them everywhere, but it's more a specialty, smaller store. They sell a lot of produce they're known for, and other general grocery items also.
And did you buy the retail bottles as opposed to some big 5-gallon thing?
Oh, yes, I bought either the 1 liter or the 1.5 liter. I used to buy both of them depending on what was a better price at the time.
Did you typically buy them in single bottles or cases of 1 liter or 1.5 liters?
Sometimes I would just buy like a few at a time. Other times if they were on sale, I'd buy a case or 2 cases even.
Okay. But you always bought the 1 liter or the 1.5 liters, correct?
Yes, I never bought the big jugs or 5-gallon or whatever they came in.
Okay. And what attracted you to real water in the first place?
Well, I had cancer back in 2007, finished treatment in 2008. I saw an integrative oncologist at UCLA. We talked about, alkalinity for your body versus active acid. And he actually told me he doesn't believe that alkaline water is going to keep your body more alkaline, but if I like the taste of it and I want to spend my money, go ahead and drink it. So I liked the taste of it. It was very smooth tasting. And, I didn't like a lot of other waters. I think your taste changes when you go through chemotherapy. So I really liked the real water. I don't know. Yeah, well, I saw that it was alkaline water, so I tried it and I liked it. So I continued buying it for many years.
So your primary motivation for buying the 1 liter and 1.5 liter bottles of real water was a health reason?
Yes, it was alkaline water, and secondary, I liked the taste of it. I thought it was very smooth.
Okay. And how often did you buy the 1 liter and 1.5 liter bottles or cases?
I don't know how often I bought it. I would try to drink like a bottle each day, like a 1 liter a day.
And was this the exclusive bottled water you bought, or did you have other types of bottled water?
No, that was the only bottled water I drank.
Okay. Did there come a time that you had a problem with the water?
Well, yes. My granddaughter was visiting, and she took a bottle, and she took some, and she goes, "Oh, Grandma," she said, "this is very bitter. This is not good water." And I go, "What? This is great water." And so I tasted it, and I go, "Oh, you're right. Something's wrong with it." And this was back, I think, when was it, 2006, was it 2016, I think, right?
Okay. Right, we've got a form here to show you in a second, but your best recollection now is the beginning of 2016?
Yeah, it was, she was visiting, I believe, at the end of 2015 for the winter, Christmas holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it must have been at the very end of, very end of 2015 when this occurred.
Okay, and you said the problem was it tasted awful, I think the word you used
Yeah,
was?
it tasted very bitter, just that, so I said, "Well, don't drink it then." I said, "I've been drinking this for years, I love this water," and so I tasted it, and I said, "Oh, yeah, it was like bitter tasting."
Did it taste metallic?
I don't remember tasting metallic, I just remember it just didn't taste right, it didn't taste like it usually did, just off, like bitter.
Did you complain about this to anybody?
Well, yeah, I called Real Water, the company.
Okay, and that would be somewhere here in Nevada?
Yes, I believe it was, let's see.
Okay, ma'am, I'm showing you a picture that we're gonna mark as exhibit 1 of a real water bottle. Is that basically what you purchased?
Wait, hold on, something's blocking up the screen here, it says, "Leave meeting or got it," so I should just press got it, I guess, get rid of it, okay. Yeah, looks like what I purchased, yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so you talked to someone in Nevada, is your best recollection?
Yeah, well, wherever the Real Water is located, yes, I did talk to someone there.
Okay, and what did you tell them?
I told them that something's wrong with this bottle of water, it tasted just bitter off.
Okay, and did they tell you what they thought the problem might be?
No, they just told me to, they were sending me, I think, like a UPS or FedEx label or something, and they said whatever's left of the bottle, which was quite a bit, I believe, to send it to them and they would test it, which is what I did.
So you mailed in your bottle to them?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you get the test results back from them?
They never sent me any results. They just said, when I think I spoke to them, and they just said, there's nothing that was bad in there that's gonna make you sick, and we're just gonna take the rest of the case that you have back to the store where you purchased it. They'll refund your money, and we're gonna send you another whole case, at no charge, of the 1 liter bottles, which is what they did.
Did they have a discussion about perhaps putting too many materials or concentrate or chemicals or?
Yeah, they did mention that too much of something might have gotten in there. I know they add minerals and stuff to the water, I don't know, give it a certain taste, I guess. I'm not sure. They did mention something about maybe something got in there too much. I don't know what it was though.
Okay, and you remember them saying that they put too much of something in there? Is that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they said possibly something, got too much of something got into the water, when they were processing it.
Okay, and do you remember them discussing concentrate perhaps?
No, they didn't really go into any detail with me.
They just told you they put too much stuff in it?
Yeah, too much of something might have gotten in there, and don't worry, you're not gonna get sick. We're gonna send you another case, take back the whole case the rest of the case that you have, which I did. And I continued buying it, for quite a few years after, until I think the markets, it was hard to get it. Like, they didn't seem to stock it, and then eventually I heard it was recalled, or they weren't getting it anymore.
Okay. Okay, directing your attention to Exhibit 2, which is a customer alert form. Let me put that on the screen and go over that with you. This is a document that Real Water has produced that is where they documented your complaint. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
does this refresh your recollection that this happened on or about January 6, 2016?
I know it was early January 2016. Yes, I'm aware that's when it was. Let me read it real quick here.
Okay.
Let's see. Taste it awful. Other bottles in the case. Let's see. Taste it awful. All the other bottles in the case and other cases are fine. I don't know if they were fine because I never opened them up. I just returned them to the store. She has left a message at left a message at the Tennessee office. She spoke with the manager at Bristol Farms Westlake, which is true. And the corporate office of Bristol Farms told her to send the bottles to them to test. So, yeah, I brought all the unopened bottles that were left in the case back to Bristol Farms. They refunded my money, and I sent the one bottle like I told you. They sent me a slip where to send it. I don't have that anymore. So many years ago. I mailed it in to be tested.
Okay, and then there's a reference here to someone named Anthony. Do you see that?
Anthony? No, let me see.
The corporate office at Bristol Farms contacted Anthony concerning this matter. That last line there.
Okay, I'm looking. And the corporate office of Bristol Farms told her to send the bottle to them to test. And something is scratched off here on the copy that I have. Let's see if it's scratched the most. Yeah. To test, something, I can't read it. The corporate office of Bristol Farms contacted Anthony concerning this matter. I don't know who Anthony is.
Do you know the name of the Real Water person you talked to?
No, I don't. I never wrote that down.
Was it a man or a woman?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Okay. So anyway, the statement here that the other bottles in the case were fine, that's not accurate because you didn't open those.
That's correct. I did not open them. They said, don't open them, just bring them back to the store. And Bristol Farm was supposed to send them in for testing. I don't know if they ever followed up or not, but they just told me to take them back and we'll send you another case. And I tasted the new case. They sent me a tasted fine, so I drank it.
And after drinking Real Water, have you ever developed any liver problems?
Yes, I do. I have fatty liver now, but I don't know, what it's from. I had fatty liver developed.
And when did you develop the liver problems?
Oh, I don't know exactly.
When were they diagnosed?
I'd have to look back at my medical records. I know it's probably at least, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I honestly have to look back at my medical records. I am seeing a liver specialist now, you know, at Cedar Sinai in Los Angeles. They did, you know, fiber scans and make sure, you know, it's not getting worse. It is a fatty liver. I mean, they found it, you know, when they've done some full body PET scans on me from when I had my cancer back in 2007, 2008. At some point, years later, they found, you know, something showed up, and then they started seeing a liver specialist. Oh, also my liver enzymes, my ALT and AST years ago went up pretty high, from like 18 to 25 normal up to like between 80 and 90 in the 90s. So something was fishy, but they didn't know. I don't know, at some point, like I said, I stopped drinking the real water because I couldn't get it anymore. And I don't know, it was how soon after that time the liver enzymes have gone down, you know, at least to the 30s and 40s now. It's not as high, the ALT and AST, but I still have fatty liver. I mean, you know.
Okay, let me see if I get this right. At the time your liver enzymes went up, you were still drinking the real water. Is that correct?
It was, yes.
And they went up to 80 to 90? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think they're over the 90s, some of them, yeah.
That would be both the ALT and the AST, but went up to 80 or 90?
Well, I have to look back at my medical records if I, you know, call my doctor or something if he has them. They both, I don't know, they both went up, but one was higher than the other. One was for sure in the 90s. The other one, I don't know if it's quite as high, but if they were both elevated, from normal for me was like 18 to 25.
And then you quit drinking the real water because it was not available. That's correct?
That's true, yep.
I think that's about in the 2020 time frame.
Yes, yes.
And since that time, your liver enzymes have gone down to normal level.
They have gone down, yes. Pretty normal, yeah.
What happened to your liver enzymes after you stopped drinking real water?
My liver enzymes have gone down to normal now.
You have a suspicion that the real water was the cause of your liver problems?
Honestly, it could have been the problem. There's nothing else. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any drugs. I exercise, I eat healthy, I eat very little red meat or fat. I really watch my diet. So that could have been the problem.
Is there anything else you can point to as the potential problem?
No. I do my own cleaning, I don't use any chemicals. I don't, you know, use any chemicals on my lawn, you know, I'm very aware of all that. No, there's nothing else in my environment, or that I ate or drank or anything that would cause it.
And did anyone contact you from either Real Water, Bristol Farms, or Sprouts and indicate to you that Real Water may be associated with liver problems?
No one ever contacted me.
You were, you said you had cancer and chemotherapy. Are we to understand?
2007, yes.
Is it in remission, Ms. Kessler?
Oh, yes, thank God, yes.
Congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. You said you were diagnosed with a fatty liver. Were you ever diagnosed with liver failure?
No, just that my liver enzymes went up. They didn't know why. And, no, I never had liver failure. I went up and they diagnosed me with a fatty liver.
Yes, ma'am. And were you ever diagnosed with acute non-viral hepatitis?
No.
Okay. And did I understand you correctly to say that they first noticed the fatty liver issue in 2007, 2008 during that scan?
No, they did not notice it then.
When did you first appreciate the fact, ma'am, that you had been diagnosed with a fatty liver?
Again, like I stated before, I don't know exactly when. I'd have to look back on my medical records. I know it was at least 5 or 6 years ago, maybe years back before then. I'd have to call my internist. I've been seeing the same internist for at least probably 15 years. I'll see if he has it on his records, but it's been quite a few years, you know, and he actually did a bunch of tests to see why my enzymes were going up, like to see, I don't know, heavy metal tests and this test and that test. I don't know. He ran a bunch of tests that would cause your liver enzymes to be elevated, but everything came out negative. And then, like I said, they did diagnose me with fatty liver, and they've been following me, you know, about every 6 months now, and doing like fibro scans of the liver to make sure it's not getting like, I guess, solid or fibrosis or something. And so it's they called it like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
All right, when you tasted the bottle of water that your granddaughter didn't like the taste of,
right?
Was that the only time you had an off taste with that product?
Yes.
All right. You're not attributing whatever liver issues you may have to that single incident, are you?
Oh, no, not to that single incident, no. I'm just wondering now that I'm aware that it's caused liver problems, if drinking this real water for, 8 to 10 years, if that could have caused my problem.
When did you ever have to go to the hospital, ma'am, for liver failure?
No.
And did you ever mention drinking real water to any of your physicians?
To my integrative oncologist that I saw, he retired several years ago, but I let him know I was drinking, real water. And I told him the reason I'm drinking it is because it's alkaline, and like I mentioned before, earlier in the deposition, he says he doesn't believe that drinking alkaline water is going to improve the alkalinity of your body. Your body self-adjusts, eat a healthy diet. He says, if you like the taste of it, fine, drink it, or you want to waste your money, fine, buy it. He says, but he's not telling me to, to drink alkaline water. He didn't believe in it.
I understand, but you never associated whatever liver issues you may have with your oncologist, did you, in real water?
No, actually, the integrative oncologist, he retired several years back. I didn't discuss my liver issues with him. He was more into, he was with the Sims Man Center, Dr. Conklin, and he really saw a lot of breast cancer and ovarian cancer patients and advised them on diet and, all that stuff.
Okay, Ms. Kessler, and you've never gone to either your internist or to your Cedars-Sinai specialist, and neither of them has told you that your consumption of real water is at all related to whatever liver issues you have.
No, my internist nor my liver specialist Cedars is not aware that I'm drinking real water.
Okay.
They didn't ever ask me, what kind of water do you drink? No, we didn't discuss water at all.
And other than
my
that,
diet, which they said I eat a very healthy diet. I don't eat red meat, and I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I exercise, and
yes, ma'am.
I buy organic when I can, fruits and vegetables, little wild fish, only wild they said to buy since I got diagnosed years ago, and a little bit of organic chicken or turkey once in a while, but no, I eat very healthy.
I have no doubt, Ms. Kessler. That single bottle, was that the only one you ever had an issue with in the decade that you drank real water?
Yes.
The only one that ever tasted or smelled off to you?
Yes.
And when you got the replacement case from real water, I take it you drank that?
I drank it, yes, I tasted fine, I drank it. Mm-hmm.
All right, and just to wrap up here, you never were admitted to the hospital with any liver failure or non-viral hepatitis?
No.
And no healthcare provider of yours has ever linked whatever liver issues you may have to your consumption of the water?
They did not link it because they didn't know that I drank real water. Nobody ever asked what kind of water I drank.
I understand. Thank you for your time. I don't have anything else. I'm glad to hear that your cancer's in remission and everything else seems to be going well.
Oh yeah, I'm a cancer warrior, all right.
Your Honor, that concludes the tape. I have another 20-minute I can play now, or we can go to break, whatever the court prefers.
Now?
Split the video.
Wait a minute, okay.
Your Honor, we would call Mr. Robert Fisher by video.
Thank you, sir.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this deposition will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, well, let me show you the second page of Exhibit 2, please. Not Exhibit 1, I'm sorry. Okay, do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is that document?
This was an email I wrote to the customer service of Real Water, alerting them a side effect that I had after drinking the water.
And what date did you write the email?
It's September 14th, 2017.
Does that refresh your recollection that that's when you wrote the email?
Yes.
Okay. And can you read for me the first paragraph of the email?
It says, good evening, I'm emailing your company regarding a recent experience after consuming the product, Real 2 alkalized water. I recently purchased 2 1-gallon jugs of this water from a Sprouts grocery store in Tampa Bay, Florida, and drank 1.5 gallons of it in a 6 to 8 hour period.
Okay, let's stop there. So, in September 2017, you were a resident of Tampa Bay?
Correct, I was living with a family in Tampa going to flight school.
Okay. Are you currently living in Florida?
No, I'm living in Memphis, Tennessee now.
Okay. And it refers to a Sprouts grocery store. You see that?
Yeah, I do.
Was this the first time you'd ever purchased Real Water?
Yes.
And what attracted you to the Real Water?
There was a pallet of numerous gallon jugs sitting at the, heading towards the checkout, and that was really the reason I grabbed it.
Okay, let me show you Exhibit 2, which is not a Sprouts, it's a Whole Foods, but just ask you if that's the kind of palette that attracted you.
The one, the one on the top left, that's what it looked like,
If we blow that a little bit. Okay, great, that's good. So, when you were in Whole Foods, you saw something like that, when you were in Sprouts, you saw something like that, and that's what attracted you to the Real Water.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, back to Exhibit 1, page 2. And can you read the second sentence for me, please?
Starting at that, I started to feel sick that night and woke up in the morning with quite severe symptoms of confusion and tremors, nausea, and vomiting. I went to a clinic and the doctor said due to the large amount of alkalized water I consumed, it caused me to go into a state of metabolic alkalosis.
Okay, first of all, you say in the first paragraph you purchased 2 1-gallon jugs from the Sprouts store, correct?
Correct.
And that, you bought 2 1-gallon retail bottles, you didn't buy 5-gallon bottles, correct?
So much is my knowledge, yeah. This is what it says on the email, so yes, 2 1-gallon jugs.
Okay. And prior to the date, did you even know they made 5-gallon bottles for home delivered?
No.
Okay. Now, referring to your email again, you went to a clinic. Did you personally drive yourself to the clinic?
No, my stepdad did.
And why did he drive you to the clinic as opposed to you driving yourself?
I could not, there was no way I could operate any kind of vehicle.
You had vomited prior to the time you went to the clinic?
I did.
And that was during the night?
That was, after that, within that 6 to 8 hour period, yes, as far as I remember.
Okay. And did you vomit once, more than once?
I know for more than once. I can't tell you exactly how many, but more than once.
Okay, at least 2 times, maybe more.
Yeah.
Why did you attribute your nausea, vomiting, hand tremors, and confusion to Real Water?
It was the only different thing added to my daily diet. And I had a very consistent, meal every day, or meals every day, and it was the only different thing that I had that whole week.
Okay, and at this time point, you were in flight school?
Correct.
Do you remember how many weeks approximately you've been in flight school?
So that would have been about 6 months that I've been in flight school at that point.
Okay. All right, and you said, could you read the next sentence, please?
Yeah, I'm currently a pilot in flight school, and it caused me to miss 3 days in a row of schooling, as well as lingering side effects affecting my memory. I would like to have some answers from your company because there are no warnings anywhere on the bottle regarding side effects of excess consumption of your water. Not warning people of potentially putting themselves into a state of metabolic alkalosis is dangerous and irresponsible.
Is this the first time you've ever had some sort of illness, especially vomiting, develop after drinking just a bottle of water?
Absolutely.
Has it happened since?
No.
All right, and you take a look at the next page, first page of exhibit 1. Do you recognize that document?
I've got that here as well. I don't really recognize it from back when this happened. It looks like it.
Is this in your handwriting?
It looks like it, yeah. But I can't tell you for sure. I mean,
Okay, it says on the top, no response from customer, case closed. See that?
correct, yeah, I see that at the top there, yeah.
Okay. Did they ever respond to your 2 complaints?
They gave me a response on, let's see, this has a September 15th, 2017.
Okay, are we going to the email now? But let's have exhibit 2, please. Was this an email you wrote to Real Water?
Your response, this is the, yes, this is the email that I responded to one of their responses, yes.
Okay, for the record, this was not produced by the defendant, it was produced by the witness. It says the address for the Sprouts is 1523 South Dale Mabry Highway. Is that right?
Yeah.
And is that where you bought it?
It is, yeah.
And did they ask you to give the address to the store?
Let's see, I'm sorry, they didn't respond. It says in their first response to my first email, in the middle of the first paragraph, I need the exact location of the Sprout store in Tampa Bay, Florida, where you purchased the water. So yes, they did ask me for the address.
Okay, and that was the location.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you said when you went to the hospital,
It was it was a minute clinic down the road. It was not a hospital.
What'd you call it, a minute clinic?
Yeah, so it's like a walk-in clinic. It wasn't part of an actual large hospital.
Okay, is that like an urgent care?
Yeah, it's like an urgent care.
Okay, and so when you went to the urgent care, were you treated?
In short, no. I saw a doctor. I told him what my symptoms were, and his best guess was the metabolic alkalosis, and that the only thing I can do is to drink other, filtered tap water and try to wash it out of my system over the next few days.
So his prescription was to drink more water to wash out the real water?
Correct, yeah.
Did you do that?
I did.
Okay. Did they run any tests on you while you were in the hospital?
They did not.
Okay. As a pilot, do you have to have medical tests done?
We have to have a medical. We have to go through a medical every 12 months. They check our eyesight, they check our heartbeat, and I wouldn't go so far as to say they're tests. It's just to make sure that. But yes, every 12 months we have to go through medicals.
They do blood work?
No blood work, no. They do urine samples for checking for diabetes.
Right. Have you had any blood work done since September 15, 2017?
Yes, yeah.
For what purpose?
It was a infection from an abscess about 2 months ago that I had to get blood work done.
And when they did the blood work 2 months ago, did they do any liver function tests?
I don't believe so, no.
Have you had any blood work since 2017 where they've done liver function tests?
I have not.
And so you don't know one way or the other whether or not a liver function test would show there's a problem with your liver?
No.
Have you had any symptoms that would suggest to you that maybe you have something slightly wrong with the liver?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Such as darkness in your urine or tenderness in the liver area or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And what happened after you went to the well, first of all, how long were you at the urgent care?
I was pretty disoriented at the time, but as far as, I would say no more than 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Did you vomit again at the urgent care?
Not at the urgent care, no.
On the way home?
No, it was after the initial vomiting, and I had stopped drinking that water. That was however many times in the initial part it was, that was the last time I did.
Do you recall if the water had a metallic taste to it?
I don't recall the taste.
And this is the first time you were drinking these retail bottles, correct?
Correct.
Did anyone else in your household drink the water?
No.
Any pets?
No.
Okay, so you sent this email back to Exhibit 2 to Real Water, and they said, we're going to report this to the Quality Control Department. Did anyone talk to you after this point in time?
Not that I recall.
Mm-hmm. Did they ever have a discussion with you suggesting that they made a bad batch?
No.
Or perhaps put too much concentrate in it?
After the first response from that company, I never heard from them.
Never heard from them again?
Correct.
Good. And the response you got was from the receptionist, right?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
If you take a look at Exhibit 2, page 2, the bottom, the person that sent your response was who?
It says from Kim Service, reception at Real Water.
Yeah, describes your position as receptionist, correct?
Correct.
So your customer complaint was handled by the receptionist at Real Water, correct?
Correct.
That's the only one you communicated with?
Yes.
And never had the quality control people talk to you?
No.
Never had anyone other than Kim, the receptionist, talk to you, right? I want to make sure we got the answer clean on the record because Mr. Duke came in. So let me ask it one more time and let him make his objection to Mr. Fisher and then answer it, okay? So no one contacted you other than the receptionist for Real Water, is that correct?
Correct.
Before your deposition today, did you have an opportunity to speak to anyone regarding your deposition?
Briefly with Kelly.
And who is Kelly?
I believe she works with Will Kemp.
And when did you speak with Kelly?
I can't give you the exact date. It was a couple weeks ago.
And did you reach out to Mr. Kemp's office or did they reach out to you?
I was contacted.
And who were you contacted by?
Kelly.
And can you tell me the nature of that conversation?
They asked me if I would speak as a witness of having side effects from drinking this water, and I said yes.
So your best recollection was that you had bought some water at Sprouts to prepare for the hurricane then?
It was not to prepare for the hurricane. I bought that water because I drink a lot of water throughout the day, And that was just the final, that pallet was sitting there before I checked out, and I grabbed a couple.
Okay, great. Did you have, let me read a couple of other symptoms and just see if you had any of these other things when you had the reaction from the water. Did you have any discoloration of your hands, your feet, or your lips?
I don't recall.
Do you remember having any problems with muscle cramping?
I had muscle tremors, not cramping.
Did you have a headache too?
Yes.
Did the doctors that you saw at the Minute Clinic say anything about you being overhydrated?
No.
Basically, what they told you was go home, drink what, tap water?
They said drink filtered tap water and get it and wash it out of your system, I believe were their words.
Okay. And the symptoms went away after a couple of days?
After a couple of days, correct.
Do you recall how much time passed between the time you started drinking the water and you started getting sick?
I do not recall, no.
Okay, do you recall if it was almost instantaneous, like you drank the water and became sick within an hour of drinking it?
I don't recall within an hour, but that same day that I drank it, I recall feeling sick.
Okay, and had it been something that, you just consumed a little bit of and then you got sick later that day, or had you been drinking it or sniffing it the whole day?
I had been sipping it the whole day, correct.
Okay, and did you drink it out of the bottle or put it in a glass?
Just out of the bottle.
Okay, and you said that you felt it was the real water that got you sick because that was the only new thing you ate that whole week, right?
Correct.
What was the typical meal that you were eating that whole week?
I can't recall the typical meal, but
Do you recall anything that you ate that week?
no. I mean, this was 2017, so no, I don't recall what I ate that week.
And do you remember what you drank? Do you remember what you consumed the day before you got sick?
I do not.
Okay. And you've never been diagnosed with any liver problems or liver failure, right?
No.
How about any kidney issues?
No.
Have you had any gastroenterology issues?
No.
After you went to what you call the Minute Clinic, did you follow up with them?
I did not.
Okay. How long was your memory affected?
As far as I can remember, at least a few weeks from what felt like brain fog after the initial side effects.
And did you have any long-term consequences?
No, not that I'm aware of.
After you got sick from drinking real water that day in 2017, what did you do with the rest of the water?
I dumped it out.
You bought 2 1-liter bottles, is that correct?
I believe it's 1 gallon per the email, and this is what I'm basing my memory off of, is reading this email I wrote to the company. It says 2 1-gallon jugs of water.
Okay, so you don't have any independent recollection of drinking the water and feeling sick, right? Everything you remember is based on the email?
Yeah, I have recollection of drinking the water and feeling sick. I don't recall the exact, I'm basing this, the questions of what size of the jugs that I bought off the email I sent.
You were contacted by counsel for Whole Foods or United Natural Foods at one point?
Am I allowed to check my emails right now?
Sure.
Oh. I believe I was contacted by, let's see, here it is. Someone from representing the interests of Whole Foods, United Natural Foods, and United Natural Foods West.
Okay, and who would that person be?
This is April Rufus.
And when was the contact made?
That was March 20th, 2023.
And then email?
Via email, correct.
One email, more than one email?
This was more than one email.
How many emails?
This is one, 4.
Okay. And in general, what's the substance of the 4 emails from counsel from Whole Foods, United Natural Foods?
The substance was essentially, she's trying to get in contact with me, and this was during a time that I was out of town most of the time, flying, and I kept trying to, it was essentially a phone tag and a email tag.
Okay. Did you guys ever hook up?
No.
All right, that concludes the video deposition.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take the afternoon recess. You're admonished not to converse amongst yourselves. If anyone else on any subject matter connected with this trial, or to read, watch, listen to any report, or comment on the trial, any persons connected with this case, or by any medium of information, including without limitations, newspaper, television, radio, social media, or to form or express any opinion on any subject connected with this trial until the cause is finally submitted to you. 15.
15, all right,